Good morning, folks. It's Monday, June 17th, 2013. Welcome to RenmanMusicandBusiness.com. My name is Steve Rennie. I am the Renman, and this little program is called Renman Live. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we're getting together here on the program to talk about today's music business, and we're doing it with some of the smartest, most talented people around, and I want you guys to be a part of the act here today. We've got a saying around here at the world headquarters, if you don't ask, you don't get, and you don't learn anything. So, folks, we want you to be a part of it and take us up on that. So, if you're looking to do something great in the music business, you are in the right place, but you gotta ask. So let me introduce you to a gentleman today who's gonna help you sort your way through all that stuff. His name is Cody Romness. Take it away, Cody.
What is good, chat room? All right, let's get involved. Best way to do it, call in on the phone. I'm presiding over the chat room. Just dropped you guys the number. It's flashing on the screen. Call in, ask your question live. Best way to get involved. Secondly, we have our live tab on our website. So you go to our website, you log in, click the live tab, click the show that you're looking at, boom. Subject, enter your question, we'll work it into the show. The ask tab, any general questions that you have about the music industry, want to get involved, don't quite know how, well, we got a perfect tab for you. Click that tab, put your question in, Ren will get to the answer. And lastly, in the chat room, anything comes up live and direct, here we are, we'll get it in the show.
Okay, Code, that was a very enthusiastic presentation today. You've come a long way from the fucking kickoff team, I'll say that. Tell the folks what they get if they call in. If they're bold, what do they get, Code?
Fuck the Gatekeepers t-shirt.
Fuck the Gatekeepers. That's right. Here it comes. Who's calling in today? Who's going to win? Ah, there you go. What fucking great hands that kid's got.
Right.
Unbelievable. Cody, nice work there. Folks, today, I'm not going to waste any more time. We had a little delay there. It's now being referred to online as a sour delay. I'm not going to confess to anything. I'm just going to start the show here. Our guest today is a gentleman by the name of Vincent Smith. He is the musical visionary behind Pretty Lights. In a time where music lovers from almost all subcultures and genres are finding common ground in the basic form of banging beats, Pretty Lights has given the people what they want. Electro, organic, cutting-edge, party-rocking beats that fill venues with energy and emotion. Over the last 7 years, Mr. Smith has released 4 albums, 3 EPs, and fans have downloaded, I reckon, about 18 million copies of his music. His live show has been described as dazzling. He's performed at the biggest music festivals around the world, including, and not limited to, Coachella, Bonnaroo, Governor's Ball, just to name a few. He's done all that while building a headline business that includes multiple sellouts at the storied Red Rocks Amphitheater in Colorado and many others. When I hear his music myself, it feels bigger than EDM, in my humble opinion. Somebody described it as heart, soul, and flavor, and I agree with that. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome my friend, Mr. Vincent Smith, a.k.a. Pretty Lights. How you doing, buddy?
Man?
All right,
Thank you so much.
All right, I want to thank you for spilling all our freaking family secrets out here. All right, folks, you know, we are prepared for most contingencies here, including delays, and we covered that, and Mr. Smith was great. First off, I want to thank you for joining us on the program here today.
It's a pleasure. You got a cool crew.
Yeah, we got a good team here. I want you to know I've actually been stalking you and your managers here for the better part of 8 months trying to dial this interview in, and I'm glad we actually had a chance to make it happen. Lots of the folks that are watching our show, Derek, are aspiring musicians. They're folks that aspire to be music professionals in one way or another. And all of them kind of share a common ground in that they're just getting started in the business. Do we have IVGAG? D? On yours or on anywhere, actually. You know, on the site here, if you go to our website, folks, I don't have it loaded up here. You'll go to the front page, RenmanMB, there it is. In the feed, you'll go over to a section called Getting Started. And if you're just starting off looking for a little inspiration, click on that button and you'll see some of the greatest stories from 50, 60, 70 people, all of them from different areas of the music business, talking about how they got started. Derek, I've asked them all the same questions. I want to ask you, how did you get started in this freaking wacky music business?
The very beginning?
The very beginning.
Oh, man.
Before the Sour D.
way before the Sour Tea, man. It was like 7th grade. I had these friends in a band, and they told me if I could get a bass guitar, I could be in the band. I got a paper route. I worked my ass off at like 4 a.m. for months until I saved up enough to get this bass guitar. Then I showed up to their band practice, and they were like, "Man, you have no idea how to play this thing. Like, you can't be in our band." Like, they let me on, man. So I got led on into being into the music industry. So that led me to learning how to play the bass, and the rest is history. Yeah.
So they actually made you learn how to play bass before they let you join the band, fuckers, you know. Let me ask you this. Your career's evolved a lot from those days when you bought the bass, thought you had a gig, and were wrong.
Yes.
You know, did you have some mentors along the way that helped you in this whole process, whether it was parents, other musicians, people you looked up to?
You know, I sort of had to navigate and find my own way through music in general. You know, like I didn't grow up in a musical home. You know, I had to sneak into my sister's bedroom before she got home from school and like listen to whatever music she had, and then find it all along the way. You know, I can remember major milestones, like when I first heard Dark Side of the Moon, and when I first heard Nevermind, and when I first heard Shamrocks and Shenanigans by House of Pain, and Atmosphere's Lucy Ford. Those were all massive moments in my musical history that stick with me today for sure.
And those were all sitting in your sister's collection.
Not all of
there?
them,
Oh,
just a couple of the beginning ones in, and then I started going to the music store myself.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you describe all this because you got a bunch of different musical reference points, which we'll talk about in a minute. You know, we love to take questions here from the folks out there. We had a whole bunch of questions that were posted on the site. So today I thought I'd do a better job of getting some of the folks involved. There's Cody. There was a question by Zolamente that I wanted to start right at the top. Why don't you take that one, Code?
Definitely. Says your new album concept is incredibly innovative. You're shaking up the entire meaning of being an electronic artist. Who are some of the innovators who have helped inspire you to take such a creative leap?
Well, the new album process that the question asker is referring to is.
We'll talk about the album. Later.
Basically, that I made my own vinyl, a whole big crate of it, and I think that the innovator that really led me to have such an obsession with the wax was Josh Davis, aka DJ Shadow, introducing 1996. Man, every day in high school, that was my alarm clock. You know, my CD alarm clock. I'd wake up to that record and listen to the whole thing every morning. So yeah, I became obsessed with wax over those years, and since then I've always had the dream of taking this process, you know, this far and making my own record collection to sample from. Yeah.
Okay. All right, good. You know, I want to talk about something we touched on the other day. You and I had a chance to talk ahead of time. What's been fun from my perspective, I'm a grizzly old veteran of the music business, card-carrying member of the old boys club, I suspect. And so I've been watching, you know, with interest this whole EDM explosion, electronic music and so forth. And to be honest, you know, it kind of was past me by. So I want to tell you how I hooked up with the Pretty Lights. My son is a big music fan. He's a big electronic music fan. And he was working with us last summer when we started the site. And he was, you know, part of this kind of cross-generational exchange of listening to my records and trying to introduce me to stuff that he liked. And, you know, he played me tons of quote-unquote EDM stuff. And frankly, I think it passed me by in many ways until he played me Pretty Lights. And I want to play here at the top the clip that he played for me that got me thinking differently about, you know, electronic music, EDM, what it means and what it doesn't mean. Play the clip if you would, D. I told you about my first not Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin concert experience, which I'll ask you not to share. I still have kids. And, you know, at any rate, when my son first introduced me to it, what was interesting, he reckoned that I might feel better about electronic music if I had some frames of reference. He played me that track. You've done mixes with Pink Floyd, you mentioned, Steve Miller Band. I'm probably forgetting a couple others. Talk about, you know, how you came to get involved with those artists and decide to put a different wrapper around them.
You know, my whole approach or the reason that I want to do that, the reason that I want to jump into the Led Zeppelin discography and sample 8 different songs and make a track out of it is there's multiple reasons, you know? It's like I want to pay props to the musicians that have inspired me so much, but it's also like to add a sense of familiarity to people who are experiencing my music for the first time. So it's like, as I began to play live and play more shows, I realized that there was a lot of people there who knew my music and liked it, but there were even more people there just coming to check it out, you know? And that sense of familiarity, like hearing something, like you said, a frame of reference, like is so powerful in the live setting, and it helps performers like engage new audience listeners, you know, who might be a little more closed-minded if you didn't have something like that. So I really wanted to play with some of my favorite older records and songs and musicians and breathe new life into them, and at the same time make my live shows just more of a party, like something people could sing along to, but at the same time it's a brand new track, you know? It's
interesting, you know, to hear you say that, because for me, you know, those frames of references are important. But as a manager, I found it interesting too that my mindset has evolved over the years. I think there was a day, you know, when a manager would hear somebody sampling their artist's music and get kind of the internet cop came over them. Those fuckers are stealing from us, right? And what was interesting as I watched this whole thing play out, partly because of this introduction with my son, it occurred to me that if new people that were Pretty Lights fans were discovering bands like Led Zeppelin and Steve Miller and Pink Floyd and so forth, and it coming to them in a way they understood that it could be kind of a cross-cultural exchange or generational exchange in two directions, right?
Precisely. It goes both ways.
Yeah, but what's interesting is for me as a manager now, I look at this and think where I used to get my cop mentality on, I'm now as a manager of a band that's been around for 16, 17, 18 years thinking, well, you know, this might be a great form of promotion for artists that have been around for a while, because as you mentioned, you're kind of paying homage to those great moments in there. Yeah. And it's changed my whole mentality, frankly, you know, and hence here we are sitting here and
good. I didn't think old guys like you could change like that, man.
Well, yeah.
Thank you.
By the way, thank you.
Culture evolves.
Yeah. And by the way, that's not just the Sour D talking, folks. All right, maybe, you know, but no, it is fun to see how things have changed, because it really is a new music business here, and I should be shocked and horrified, but I'm strangely attracted to it and enjoying it a lot. We've got a question here on the phone here. Who's on the phone with us today?
You. Yes. Jessica, Colorado.
We got Jessica from Colorado. Oh, there she is, Jess. How you doing?
I'm doing very good. How you doing?
Okay, hold on. The phone's got to stop reading. Okay. Okay, Jessica. Sorry for messing around there. You're on with Derek Smith.
Hey, Derek. I'm the one that makes the Pretty Lights family pins. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, and I love the pins as well, Jessica. Thank you.
You're welcome. Are you ready for my question?
I am ready. Lay it on me.
All right, dude. You and Michael Menner, are you going to do a listen rap performance for anybody ever again? That'd be pretty cool.
Funny you mentioned that. Yeah. Are you going to go to the Red Rock show this year?
Most certainly. It's going to be an Illuminator.
Oh, yes, one of the Illuminators. That's awesome. Yeah, that's a great idea, and, you know, Michael and I have been doing that for years, just not in this sort of 3 or 4 last year period. But I don't know if you've heard any of our earlier works and collaborations together, but yeah, to answer your question, we've been talking about it a lot, and I think that you'll see something like that in the.
All right, well,
in the
that
near
sounds
future.
awesome. I've definitely heard your past shit, of course, so I'm excited to hear some more shit.
Hey,
Thanks,
Jess.
sir.
Hey, Jessica, a question from the old guy here. What the fuck is an illuminator?
Illuminator, all right. Well, the Illuminator program is actually some of Pretty Light families that are going to go around and help other of the crowds with some water and some good vibes, bring in that Pretty Light spirit that you already get from the fucking music, but, you know, it's all a family experience.
Hell yeah.
It's amazing. It's like the fans, they created this entity called the Pretty Lights family. And they're so positive and they're so community driven, and they like, it's an amazing group of people. And then from within that, they started like, they organized the street team into this thing that they dubbed the Illuminators. And it's just amazing to see like the organization that's evolved within the fan community of Pretty Lights, and how it's like drawn together, and now that there's a big group of people that come out and help make all the shows better. So I really appreciate that, Jessica, that you're part of that whole movement. That's really cool to me.
Jessica, I think
Oh, it's most certainly my pleasure.
it's great stuff. And it's funny, one of the things I've noticed about the internet that I find so amazing is that once you get it, if you're an artist and you found a way to connect with your audience, you have these terrific ways to stay in touch and actually put, you know, your biggest fans on the team. And it sounds like you're a big fan, Jessica, and I want to thank you for being bold. What do you want? You want a Fuck the Gatekeepers or a Dream It, Do It shirt?
Wait, what? Because everything.
throw me the shirt.
I am such a... I am so honored to be able to have anything of this opportunity, so thank you.
We can give you one of these, Jess. Can you see that? It says Fuck the Gatekeepers, not exactly recommended for family audiences. And then we have one that's a little more highbrow, Dream It, Do It. And we'd be happy to send you one of those for being so bold as to call in today. Which would you look at Cody Romness, you know. This is a professional, or their Dream It, Do It. Right?
Okay, yeah, I want the latter, the Dream and Do It. That sounds a lot more positive. That's what I'm about.
Well, the other one's positive. It's a little rough, but we're going to send you Dream and Do It. But it really is kind of positive. It's like, fuck the gatekeepers, make something happen. It's my freaking toilet mouth. I'm sorry. Jess, thanks so much for calling in today.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity, man. You have a good one, Derek. And you, sir, you have a good one as well.
Okay, thank you, Jessica. Do you ever
cool
notice
girl.
there's a funny, we'll have to keep in touch. There's a point in your life where everybody starts calling you sir, and I'm not quite sure if I can remember when that age was they start calling you sir. But anyway, enough on
It's
that.
actually kind of become slang now.
Sir, okay.
Like, it's cool.
Okay.
Like I find myself like, you know, in the middle of the night at the truck stop, like buying a, you know, power bar or something, and I'm like, thank you, sir, to the gas station attendant. I picked it up from my Nashville agent, I think, and I've seen it spreading. Like,
Well, the Southern boys,
sir
man,
is coming
they
back.
have good manners is what it comes down to. Okay,
not
let's
sure
talk
if
a
it's
little
nice.
bit about this making music, right? You're a musician, bass player?
That was my first instrument, yeah. Bass player, led into keys, guitar, flute, all that.
Okay.
All that stuff.
So here's what I want you to walk me through here. You know, I want you to talk
ready.
about this idea. You start off as musician, you become a DJ, then producer. It seems like they all kind of, you know, DJ, producer, kind of
Wait,
explain.
DJ never happened.
DJ never happened. Okay.
Musician, rapper,
Okay, you were a rapper.
producer.
Okay.
And yeah, I never was a DJ in the sense that I mixed records and played other people's music. You know, my first show as a producer, which, you know, an audience member looking up on stage, seeing a guy with a table and some computers, it's like they don't know if you're DJing or making music from scratch. You know, that's one of the sort of problems with electronic music as a performance art, is that it has not evolved to a point where people can really get a sense of how you are interfacing and manipulating your music. And and that's something that really needs to be pushed. But what was your question again?
Okay, we'll come back. Well, that was about the whole DJ producer thing. But it's interesting you should mention that whole thing. I've been going to big rock shows my whole life forever, as a fan and as a professional. And I went to the Hard Music Festival last year with my oldest son, Matt, who introduced me to you guys. And of course, I got passes and all that stuff. And of course, he dropped me like a fucking brick at the door as soon as he got in.
Peace, Dad.
But I remember watching a couple of the bands on the acts on the main stage, and it was a lot of lights going on. There was a lot of activity going on, but I couldn't really sense the performance side of it, you know. And I kind of was in my mind's eye wishing that they had some overhead cams so I could get a sense of. Are they like glorified cheerleaders, or is something happening in the moment versus just hitting a button? Talk about that. Did I bum you out there?
No, you struck the nerve of EDM. It's the thing that all these main stage DJs want to hide. You know what I mean? It is, in a sense, you know, I think a lot of glorified cheerleading. You know what I mean? It's like, I personally, you know, when I first started, I said, I'm never going to play another artist's track, which, you know, can be interpreted in different ways. I mean, obviously I make Led Zeppelin remix. I made a Led Zeppelin remix. That's another artist's track, but it's my own take on it. You know what I mean? So everything I play is I've produced in some way, and it's been a difficult journey trying to devise ways to get that performance element really in there, but to at the same time rock a party. So it's like there's these two priorities, like being a musician and a performer, and rocking a party and making everyone in the crowd go nuts. And it's like, I feel like you really have to balance that, and I've become much more interested in focusing on the manipulation and improvisation element, which doesn't exist in EDM, you know, as much as I hope it will in the future.
Well, I'm glad to see I'm not the only guy that's identified, because truthfully, a lot of it I thought was just my own, you know, years of just looking at concerts and performances where there was that live element. And by the way, EDM isn't the first group of people that have figured out drugs and music go together and party and all that. Shocking that I would know a little something about that. But there was always that something's happening in the moment. Is somebody going to miss the note? Are they going to, you know, fuck something up? And then that immediacy is what made it so special being there. You felt like they were doing it for you that night.
You need to have the potential to fuck it all up. Yes.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Joe, speaking of fucking it up, Joe, we got another call. Joe never fucks up, by the way, guy. He's the reason I look smarter than I really am. Joe, who do we got on the line?
We got Madison from Minneapolis.
We got Madison from Minneapolis. Okay, Madison, you're on with Mr. Smith.
Hello, hi.
Hey, Madison.
How's it going? I'm from Minneapolis. I have a question for you about your touring in the fall.
Okay, yeah, lay it on me.
I have read a couple interviews, and there's some huge rumors going around for CLF if you are going to be touring with a live band, and like I just wanted to know a little bit more about that, and because I know you're in the transition of coming from being a DJ into like a producer, and that's really cool.
I've always been a producer. Sorry, that always kind of irks me a little bit.
It's okay, you know. Don't piss him off, folks, okay?
No. Madison, great question. Yes, all my shows since Pretty Lights started touring in like 2008 have been live production and original music, but with the fall tour that's coming up in 2013, yes, I can verify the rumors that I will be bringing a live band with me on tour, and at the same time really stepping up the integration of the visual medium and the audio medium, and at the same time working with a band in a way that a producer I don't think ever has. I have this this happens to be classified, but a top secret vision of how to combine the production show with the live band show. It's not going to be just a live band playing on top of my beats. You know, like back when I used to play with the drummer, Deitch and Corey Eberhard before that, like they would play live drums on top of my produced beats that I was, you know, performing at the time, and we had like a sign language system that I would sort of direct the drummer, but this tour is going to be very different and something very new, even, you know, in the sense of how a producer and a live band work together. So I know it's been done before by some producers, but not like this. So yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up so I could let people know.
Yeah, no, awesome. That's totally, I'm so stoked for your fall tour, and I'm sure you have a lot of surprises that you don't want to let out of the bag to us. But
Well, you already let out one secret here today, Derek. Why fucking hold back now, okay? All right, Madison, I want to thank you for asking that question. Fuck the gatekeepers or dream it, do it.
All right, thank you so much for having me on the line.
I scared
Madison,
you.
you're off the hook. Thank you, man.
Okay, I'm going to take that as a go fuck yourself. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madison, so much. I want to ask you a question on that whole live integration. Everybody's stealing all the questions that I so carefully crafted over the weekend here. I got a friend in a band named Mike Einziger who hooked up with one of your contemporaries, Avicii, who played down at the Ultra Music Festival in Miami this year. And they integrated a little bit of the live and his normal show together, and it was trying, I guess, it at best, you know, and maybe that's the wrong venue to do something like that. You're going to do it as part of a headline tour, right?
Yes.
Does it scare you at all that your audience out there, that they might not get it, or are you looking forward to it?
I am excited to have the challenge of crafting a show that considers that from the beginning. You know, I want to build a show that everyone will get. You know what I mean? But they'll get new things out of it. You know, like the shows that you're talking about from your early days, your first concerts, and how they affected you. I want to bring that back. You know, that vulnerability, that the realness, you know what I mean?
Moment.
But do it in a really original and new way. So yeah, I feel like I have made the decision to take a left turn with this whole EDM thing and where I'm at with it. And it's like, I want to play venues, you know, typically EDM artists, you know, like big DJs, they want to stay away from these ornate, beautiful theaters that are seated, and because they have seats, they want people to be able to go wherever they want, and a lot of fans are sort of, younger fans especially, are adverse to the seated venues. But I've realized that those are the best ones, man, and the most intimate, and so a lot of the venues on my fall tour are going to be these theaters that I've never been willing to play before because there's seats. But it's like, I feel like it encourages people to sort of have their own space. They get their own little, you know, 3 by 3 foot area, and it promotes paying attention more and really watching what each person on stage is doing, and I want to make it, you know, I am making it a show where you have to pay attention, and that's a huge part of it.
I think it's so refreshing to hear you say that, because I think back in the day when I was first going to concert, they all were like that. They had seated, and you really did have your place, and it did force you to pay attention to the artist because you weren't having to deal with the kind of melee of it. I went out and saw, I forget who I was watching, Benny Benazzi or somebody out at Coachella this year, and I went out there, and man, when that crowd started packing in there, it was fucking a little bit scary. Now, that might have just been me, but you know, it forced you, it took your attention a little bit away from the party there. I want to talk some more about this idea of making music. You have collaborated with a number of artists, either by sampling their stuff or actually working with lots of singers and stuff. You did one great one with Leanne Rimes. That I wanted to talk about. A couple of years back, you participated in this project called Regeneration with Skrillex and Mark Ronson. And I suspect the idea was to mix music genres of one sort or another. So we talked about this kind of cross-generational aspect of what you do. I want to play this little clip here of this process you went through in terms of mixing genres. And I'm just going to play the clip. It's funny, and then we're going to talk about it.
Are we ready to start sort of communicating here? I want to approach the way that we do this, obviously, in a very different, sort of looser way than I imagine you guys are used to. I'll sort of communicate. At the beginning, everyone was kind of like, who's this dude with the baggy pants and the slightly sideways hat looking like a... You know, I kind of got the standoffish vibe, like this guy's a producer. The Wurlitzer, we'll get the chord progression, and I'll kind of like... I've found that, you know, with everyone, I'm sort of showing them a new process, something that they've never done before. Sort of hearing and then sort of fusing your own style into it. And then... Good morning. And I wanted to first have Ralph do a few passes of the vocals and then focus on the band separately.
How are you?
Dr. Ralph, I'm Derek.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you as well. So we're doing Wayfaring Stranger. I've heard your version. I'm a big fan of it.
Thank you.
The way I would, I'm hoping we can do it is your style and your voice with the melodic approach that's similar to the old Burl Ives version. Are you familiar with that?
I'd rather just do it my way.
Okay.
That is some classics. I'd rather just do it my way. You've done a lot of collaborations, you know, including this one. Talk about, you know, that whole idea of collaborating and mixing genres, if you would.
Yeah, that moment occurred in the process of me working on my new record, and so I had already acquired a new set of skills when it came to communicating with musicians and singers and telling them what I wanted. But for some reason, when I met Dr. Ralph Stanley, it kind of slipped away, and I was like all of a sudden just really nervous, like talking to this guy, you know, and you know, in hindsight, I feel like an ass for referencing some other musician. Like, I want you to sing it like Burl Ives, and he's like, you know, if I were him, I would have been like, fuck that, you know, like I'm doing my way too, you know what I mean? That's my mentality as well. So yeah, and it's funny how they really played that drama up, and Dr. Ralph and I ended up becoming, you know, good friends, and he actually really liked my music. He asked to go in the control room and listen to my beats, and it was like watching this 88-year-old dude like just chill and like look at, you know, watch the speaker while he's hearing this new music he's never heard anything like before, and he was like, well, that was pretty cool, you know? Cool. Anyway, what I did was I went to his guitar player, and I was like, all right, Ralph wants to do it his way, but I'm gonna have you change the chords. So, because Ralph's way was like this major chord bluegrass version, and I'm not sure if that's really what he meant when he said that, but what I did is I changed the chord progression and I gave it to his guitar player, and then Ralph just automatically sang the right melody that I heard in my head, and it all came together perfectly. So
it was just a great moment, you know. And it's funny. It reminds me of a funny story. I was talking about, you know, Mike Einziger and working with Avicii. One of my buddies from a golf course of mine is a guy named Mac Davis, who came from a country background. He wrote a bunch of big hits for Elvis Presley, and I saw him out at the driving range one day, and he goes, "Yeah, I've been working with these guys." And he said, "It's funny, this producer, Steve, well, he's not even really a musician. He just, he kind of just hears it in his head, and he's got all these keyboards and stuff, and he said, but I can't quite make sense of it, but it's fucking good. That was his comment too. Now, Mac's probably 73. If you're watching, Mac, I apologize for outing your age there. You know, you also had Leanne Rimes, who's, I saw her on TV last week. She's got a great new record out. Talk about how you managed to rope these various people, specifically Leanne Rimes, into this track. And then I want to play a little bit of the end result for folks to know that it was a happy ending here.
Yeah, well, I mean, the project was called Regeneration. Their whole aim was to take modern, known, somewhat popular producers and make them work in a genre that they were not comfortable with. Personally, in hindsight, I feel like I'm the only one who really got that experience because, you know, Skrillex got rock, Ronson got jazz, Crystal Method got soul and funk, and Premier got classical. I mean, like, those all match with their genres, you know, they go together. And so Pretty Lights, you know, the hip hop, organic electro, down-tempo producer got country.
And Dr. Stanley.
Well, I went through all these country singers and I was like so frustrated. I couldn't find the voice that I needed to make a track that was, you know, that crossed with my style. And I heard a version of, I think it's called Old Death. Is that what it's called? Anyway, it's a really dope track by that Ralph Stanley sang, and it, like, I watched a YouTube video, brought me to tears, and I called them, and I was like, that's who I want to work with, and they got him. And I feel like the directors of the film didn't think that was a big enough name, so they're like, you know, we want to make this really big. Like, who else would you want to work with, female-wise? And I didn't, you know, I'm not extremely educated in modern country music, so I had memories of this song that I heard, like, while my mom had the country music station on in the car, and it was Leanne Rimes' Blue. Maybe it wasn't that long ago, because I think Leanne and I are around the same age. But I remembered that song that she sang, and I remembered that I liked it at the time, and I was like, damn, this is powerful. So I was like, I like her voice, and I listened to some of her new stuff. I liked her voice, and I asked if they could get her. They got her. We linked together, and she was just like, you know, she's a country artist, but she loves soul. She loves Motown. She even knew, like, about underground soul labels from Detroit and artists that, like, not many people know about. And we had, like, this conversation about old soul 45s from, like, Memphis and Detroit, and it was cool. And then she really just wanted to contribute to that song in any way possible, and she took all my direction and really did an awesome job with it. I like the outcome of the song.
It came out. We're going to play a little bit of it for you right now here, folks.
I know dark clouds will gather around me. I know the road is hard and steep, but golden fields lie just beyond me, where mortal man will never leave. I'm just a wayfaring stranger, traveling through this world alone.
There's a sickness, pain, or danger, and that's land to which I go.
right, there you have it. As we were just saying, that had all the potential on paper to be a fucking train wreck that worked out fucking great. Cody Romness over there, our ace Trojan man, is over there going to tell all you folks how you can keep in touch with us on the social media front. Take it away, Code.
So fucking sick having you on
I wonder
theme
how long
song.
it is before we hear from those guys, all right? Jesus. We're sampling here. Fucking take it easy, Trojan. All right?
Hell yeah. All right, what's up, guys? So, like everybody else, we have our social scene here at RenmanMB. We have our Twitter, which is at RenmanMB. We have our Facebook, which is facebook.com/RenmanMB. We got our YouTube, youtube.com/RenmanMB. Instagram, of course, because everybody loves taking pictures. Instagram.com/RenmanMB or at RenmanMB. Our podcast, so you can listen in your car. Just go searching RenmanMB Live. And then lastly, our Shopify store, so you can get some sick merch and help me out.
That's right. You know, we don't pay Cody here. So I've told him that he can have 100% of the mugs, okay? T-shirts I'm keeping. How are we doing to those mugs? I see we sold a couple the other day.
Yeah, we're getting better.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Code.
You're welcome.
We got some more questions in the chat room. We'll take them in a minute. You got a new record coming out on July 2nd. It's called Color Map of the Sun. You took a little bit different approach on this new record. I want to play one final little clip for you, and then we'll talk about this record, which I think is fucking awesome myself.
Cool.
Not a record reviewer, but...
OMG. This is gonna be awesome. This is a fucking wonderland. My name's Derek. The group's called Pretty Lights. In the past, a huge part of making my tracks was digging for records. I'd literally take hundreds of samples and put them together to create something new and fresh. For my new record, instead of collecting that creative vinyl, I created my own creative vinyl. Okay, now we're gonna roll it.
This record was an experiment in creating modern, cutting-edge music with gear that existed 40 years ago.
The rain will fall down on us all.
Thank you once, thank you twice, thank you twice.
Good stuff. Really good stuff. Color Map of the Sun. I got a copy early on from Mr. Foley over there, sent me a link a while back. I just love the record. And as we were talking about, to me, it's so much bigger and wider than electronic or EDM. Talk about, your approach to making this record versus your previous records.
Yeah, I mean, I was on tour in 2010, US-wide 50-state tour, or probably 47 states, I don't know. And I walked off stage one day, and I don't know what it was about that show, but I was kind of like down about it. It was like a fun show, and it was great, but I was like, man, this shit needs to get stepped up. You know what I mean? Like, I need to step things up for myself, or I'm gonna get bored. You know what I mean? Like, and so, for some reason, just right in that moment, like a light bulb flicked over my head, and I was flicked on over my head, and it all made sense. I knew what I had to do. I was like, I have to go back to the very beginning and do what I do, keep my sound and my style, and evolve it simultaneously, but also just do the unthinkable, which was, make 60 records to sample from myself. And that's the whole thing. And that's what I've been talking about so much, and that's what that little trailer was about the process. And it's so unique, and it's a huge part of the record, and I want people to see that. But at the same time, it doesn't at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if I use all analog gear and tape machines and whatever, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's got to be dope music. And so, like, what I want to say first and foremost is that I made a record that I'm proud of. Like, I'm really proud of it. And the fact that every piece of music that was on those pieces of vinyl was composed on the fly, you know, with the musicians, with the engineer, and it was just this like non-stop process of working with other creative people and getting on the same page and creating what I call breaks, you know, which is the section of a song that I look for, you know, on a record. You know, when I would dig through records, I would pick them up and I would look across the record in the right light, and you can see where it gets quieter or where it gets a little smoother, and you can actually visually see the breaks if you know if you're an experienced digger and know the little tricks, and then you throw it on your little battery powered turntable or your, you know, whatever you have, and you put it on that part, and you can dig a lot quicker. Anyway, I was trying to make breaks with these virtuoso musicians, which was crazy, and just like in Nashville, all those musicians were so skeptical of me, and every musician I worked with was like, "Where's the sheet music? Like, what the hell am I doing here?" And I'm like, D minor into G minor,
I think.
and they'd be like, "All right," and they'd start jamming out. I'd be like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, way too much. Just play the chord." And they'd play the chord, and I'd be like, "No, play the chord over here." And they'd play the chord over here, and I'd be like, "No, play this fingering of the chord." And they'd be like, "Okay." And I'm like, "Now just play it on the snare beat." And they'd play it softer. I'm like, "Okay, use the sustain pedal, let it resonate." And you know, I'd work with every little piece of each break until it sounded perfectly, because I'm a timbre nuance freak. Like, I'm looking for the perfect moment. I can have a keyboard player play a single chord 500 times, and I will know when I hear the perfect one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though it's the same thing, it's just the little differences that make things special and make pieces of music something that I want to work with and sample. And so essentially, I was going into the studio trying to write pieces of music from different time periods, different genres, different places in the world, but not only that, trying to write the best of it, or something comparable to the best of it. Something, because that's ultimately, if I were doing the record with my past production process, I would be taking the best moment from an artist's entire career to work with, and mix it with a bunch of best moments from other artists' entire careers to make a song that is now and future and the last 100 years all at the same time. And in hindsight, I found that makes so much sense. Like, that's what I strive for in my music, even though I really never knew it while I was doing it.
So let me ask you. Let me see if I get this in my head. So in the past, it's easy for me to understand you're grabbing bits and pieces of stuff that was existing, but this was all original.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
All not written down. It sounds to me like these guys were helping you extract some musical landscape out of your head and put it down on tape. Fair comment?
Not
Were you telling them,
completely.
okay, here's the arrangement and here's kind of what I'm looking for?
I literally asked these musicians to sign a piece of paper that said, "I'm not going to write anything," right? And sometimes some of my friends would improvise a little thing, but I was saying, don't improvise. I was saying, play what I tell you to play, and that's it. And you know, a lot of musicians were like, "Of course, that's all I'm going to do. If I'm not getting points and royalties on your record, I'm not going to write anything for you." And I didn't want that. I didn't want people writing music or improvising their style. I wanted them to come in and play what I heard in my head. And so that process of going through to each musician and working with them on just the little nuances of each chord and each strum, and even the way, you know, Adam Deitch, the drummer, who's like
He worked with you previously.
drummed on the whole. He was the drummer on the whole record. He, you know, him and I were really on the same wavelength, and there were a couple musicians like that: Eric Krasno, Brian Coogan, Ben Jaffe. Anyway, and I would play bass a lot of the times, or keys, and have a mic where I could conduct the band. Once everybody got their part right, their melody right, the way they picked the strings right, or whatever they were playing, then we would roll tape, and I would either be playing bass or some weird instrument like a marxophone or something like that, and be conducting it at the same time. Like, all right, bass and drums out, you know, all right, you know, just duet B3 and guitar strums, you know, like take it back, all right, halftime, you know, and we go through the whole thing, and then it would last 6 to 20 minutes, and then we'd have it, and we'd go on. And the whole time I was stressing about what we were gonna do next, because I'm paying these musicians all this money. I'm like, man, I'm like playing one piece of music, thinking about, all right, what the hell am I gonna do next? You know, in between playing, directing, and trying to write something in my head for when we were done with this piece. It was it was a crazy process.
I had written down here stress. It sounded like that's a whole lot more stressful than sitting there leisurely and looking at the grooves. You got some questions for us, Cody?
Dude, I got so many questions. It's a joke.
All right, pick the best one right now, Cody.
You're gonna throw all
you guys
that
okay
pressure,
on time here?
All that pressure on my shoulders right now? Okay.
I'm great. I'll hang out all day.
So we had a question from Joe Webb. He says, the videos might change my interpretation of the music. Should I watch them right away, Derek?
Oh my God, that is an awesome question. Okay. And I'm curious about the fans' feedback. We had initially talked about, and I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say this, my manager's over there, I'm not gonna look at him, but
Okay, this is where I go under the table here. I have nothing to do with this, Adam, okay?
I wanted this to be a massive, multifaceted project. So I came to a group of friends of mine out of Chicago that are a video team. And this is what this question is referring to. And I told him, I was like, I want to make a visual accompaniment for each one of the songs on the record. And I want you to do it in the same way that I'm making the record. I want it to be all organic, analog footage, light experiments, like even video modular synthesis. It was crazy. And they went out and they did that. And we ended up dubbing it the Visual Project. So the whole album has a visual side to it as well. But the question that Joe Webb brings up is that, will watching the video affect the emotional interpretation of the music? And yes, I definitely believe it will. So, you know, I would encourage my fans or people who bought the record to listen to the music on its own first. You know what I mean? Because it's like watching a movie as opposed to reading a book. You know, it's like you can imagine everything, and there's no set in stone imagery or feeling or meaning connected to the song. It can be what it is to you personally. And so I've decided to, rather than roll out the videos with the music simultaneously, to hold those videos back so that people can experience the song on an emotional level, the songs on an emotional level, without the visuals, and then later enjoy that part of the art as well. So yes, I think it will affect your interpretation, and I encourage you to listen to the music by itself first.
Well, what's interesting too on this one, I notice, is that because it's so ambitious. If I could analogize a color map of the sun to a circus, you've got a 3-ring circus. You've got the finished tracks. Then you provide everybody with the bare bones or the underlying tracks there, and now you got some visuals. So it's really an interesting way to look at a body of music and give them different entry points points into the circus, you know, and that's a little bit different than what you've done in the past. You know, you kind of collected all this stuff. I think we got a visual of all the stuff, the way you kind of put this together for your Uber fans here. Do we have that, D? There it is, this whole premiere. Talk about that side of it. This time around, you've given away 18 million records. You're still giving away this music, but you're allowing people a way to buy the whole ride. Fair comment?
Yeah, definitely a fair comment. I love the circus analogy.
Dude, I was a little nervous when that one came out. Oh shit!
I'm gonna start saying that in
Feel free.
interviews and shit. It is a circus, and it's very multifaceted, and it's like when I went into the studio and I heard how good these recordings were sounding, I was like, there's no way I'm gonna sell this music short by only sampling it into a production. I want to get as much out of it as possible. So there's the album, there's the bare, you know, the bonus disc, which is like all the raw breaks, the live studio sessions, the visual project, but then there's also like a remix version of the album I'm working on, which will be like, you know, more hard-hitting, banging versions of the songs with other producers and myself. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of unprecedented. Like I haven't really heard of an album or a project where they tried to, you know, hit every, you know, it's not just multimedia, it's multimedium. You know what I mean? There's so many mediums that are involved in this project. There's, you know, we even filmed a documentary about it so people could really get an in-depth glimpse of it, which actually drops today. I'm going to
drops today. You heard it here first. You know, I think it's really interesting because, you know, in days gone by, when, you know, I managed a band that's been on a major label for years, and the band is independent now. Brandon, the singer, is working on putting out a new record, and we're winding up taking the best of these practices out there today. And you've never been on a major label, and I think it allows you a certain level of freedom that it's not there when you have a bunch of big partners involved. Joe, you got another question for us on the phone?
We do.
Who do we have?
Sarah from Colorado.
Sarah from Colorado. Is that Sarah Conover from Colorado? Sarah, you there?
Yeah, what's up, Derek?
Is that Sarah Conover?
Sarah from Colorado.
Okay, Sarah from Colorado. Okay, I was digging for something. Pardon me. You're on with Derek Smith.
What's up,
you got a
Sarah?
question?
Yeah, so I just moved to Colorado from Wisconsin. Been to a few Pretty Light shows in Wisconsin. Had a fucking great time. Bought Red Rocks tickets for this year, and heard it was something special. Do you feel a different vibe or energy when you play in your home state?
Yes, completely.
Nothing like a hometown crowd.
It's a hometown crowd, you know. It's Colorado, and that's the scene that like made me successful. You know, they were I wasn't discovered by an A&R or a major label. I was discovered by, you know, a bunch of college kids in Boulder and Denver and Fort Collins, you know, who were like, this shit is dope, you know, and then email me like, come play a house party, and that's how it all started, you know. And so yes, I've always held my home state shows in an extremely high regard, and that is always where I debut new productions and new music and write special songs just for those nighs. Like, yeah, Colorado shows are very important to me, and my fans and I are, you know, the Colorado fans, like, we come from the same place, we grew up in the same place, like, we have a very sort of similar aura, vibe, like, approach, you know what I mean? Like, we'll light up a thick spliff in the middle of Oklahoma because we're just like, wait, it's not legal everywhere? Like, wait, what
It is in Red Rocks.
Thinking, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Anyway, Colorado's the shit, and I have the utmost respect for all my fans, but in CO, it's like a whole nother thing. Like, there's it's crazy. Mad respect. So yes. I guess I could have just said yes, but I hope that the wordier answer was more satisfactory.
So I think we approve of your move to Colorado. And by the way,
Wisconsin's dope as hell, too.
Wisconsin is dope too, but Colorado, and particularly Red Rocks. How many times have you sold out Red Rocks now? A bunch.
Adam? I mean, this is the third or fourth year I've headlined Red Rocks, and this is the fourth. Yeah, so the first year it was one night, second year was 2 nights, third year was 2 nights, and we're gonna do 2 nights this year. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Lucky on the 7th thing again here.
7.
All right, folks, if you really want to see a great show and a great place to see it, I would suggest, if you haven't bought tickets, probably already sold out already, right? May have to go for a triple. Ruin the 7th thing, go with 8.
Maybe we should call the promoter. Let's see if we can work that out.
8, because it's a special place here. Okay, I have another question that I wrote down previously that talks about this in the context of the color map of the sun. It was a gentleman by the name of Jamie who said, Derek, as a producer, I think color map is exactly, capitalize that, where music needs to be going. My question is, do you think your hard work will make it easier for producers like myself to get access to places like Piety and real musicians and instruments? What is Piety, by the way?
Piety is the analog legendary recording studio in the 7th Ward in New Orleans, Louisiana.
There you have it, okay.
And countless records have been made there, amazing records. Mark Ronson actually worked there in the Regeneration film.
Okay.
Same recording studio. So you've seen it in there. And to answer your question, I hope so. I really hope so. You know, the reason that I wanted to create a documentary about this record was not only so people could get a glimpse in, but also so that younger kids, you know, who are getting into production, like music equipment has become so accessible. And, you know, you can just go down to the local strip mall and get, you know, Ableton or whatever from Guitar Center, you know. But I think that seeing how it was done and thinking about it and sort of getting somewhat of like a touch of a history lesson or inspiration for older things, I think that it will inspire people to go out and do their own version of that. You know, it might not make it easier, and it's not going to make like the day rates at Piety or Studio G any cheaper, but the fact of the matter is that it's about the sound quality, and that's why I went through all these laborious, you know, tedious elements and steps to get this sound quality, and it's getting to a point where producers can now do that and really get that sound without doing everything I did. I just wanted to keep it extremely authentic, but there are crazy amounts of analog emulator plugins that you can get your hands on. U82 is a system that I'm starting to produce with now, so.
Good.
I hope so. I hope that it makes it easier for producers like yourself to jump into that world.
All right, perfect. Joe, you got another question for us over there? All right, you want to take another question? I got to tell you, folks, you're ringing them off the hook today. We're going to run out of shirts here. Joe, who do we have on the line now?
We got Brett from Salt Lake City.
Brett from Salt Lake City. We're covering all of continental United States. How about somebody from international? It's free. It's a freaking Vonage call. What's the gentleman's name?
Brett.
Brett from Utah. Brett, you're on with Derek.
Hey, what's good, man? How you doing, Derek?
Hey, what's up, Brett? How are you?
Hey, man. So, got kind of a couple questions here. The first one, this might bring up kind of a random moment in time. We remember Sophie, the old Merch girl, Sophie Reeves.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you. There was a poster I made for you, and I gave it to her. It was a turkey sandwich poster. I actually was curious if you ever got that.
Yeah, man, I got the turkey sandwich poster. Are you kidding? We had it hanging on the bus for as long as we could. I was like, this is interesting and really dope. Yeah, so it kind of tripped me out
I
at
downloaded
first.
the tour rider forever ago, and I saw that turkey was a big thing on there, so I figured you guys were mounting down.
Oh, that's right. We always had deli turkey on our rider. Thanks for that. I remember that vividly, actually. Yes.
All right, we're cool, man. All right. Well, besides that, another question. I've always just been wondering about this since it happened. I'll just say, speaking of happiness, really curious about like whatever happened to that track. I guess there was maybe some copyright or sample issues, and then beyond that, have you dealt with more? I guess just issues. I've heard people coming out of the woodwork and contacting you about stuff like that. I've always just been curious about your issues or dealing with that stuff.
Yeah, good. That's an awesome question, actually. I put out 7 records, 4 records, 3 EPs, whatever. They're long EPs that have cumulative hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of samples, and it's like the speaking of happiness one that you brought up was the first email I got from a law firm about a sample saying you need to give us a lot of money. And I'd always been under the impression that I'm giving out my music for free. This sample issue is not really gonna affect me. And it wasn't why I gave my music out for free, but it was like I just had kind of had this blind hope that it wouldn't be a big deal, but turns out that I did have to settle on that song, and it's funny because that song has all kinds of live instrumentation and live drums and other samples, and this one sample that happens a couple times throughout the track. I had to take it off the album. Like I literally had to pull that song off the record. So it's like this. Yeah. It's like this rare B-side now that like only some people have, like the people who downloaded the record early, And I had to pay, And what's unfortunate is that I had to pay some major record label. I wasn't paying the artist. I wasn't paying the person who wrote it. I was paying. A law firm and a major record label, which kind of bummed me out. And yeah, since then, more things have come, but I've tried to take an approach on it where I turn it into a positive thing and communicate to people that I'm really trying to breathe life into their music and bring it to a new audience and extend its longevity. For example, Syl Johnson is an old soul artist who I've sampled a few times.
You left behind, boy.
He knows what's up.
Brett, Brett should be saying
where's that track at? That's another one people have been asking about. What's that one at, boy?
Yeah, that's what's up. And so Syl came to us and it was at first kind of like, you sample my music, you need to pay me a bunch of money, and then we ended up working it out where now I'm going to, part of the deal is that he wants me to sample more of his music in the future on, future tracks, and he likes it. He just, wanted the props, and he deserves the props, so like So Much in the Dark, like that horn line is a Syl Johnson sample, and Looking for Love, the guitar and the vocal, not the guitar, the break and the vocals are a Syl sample. Anyway, yeah, I really try to turn it into a positive thing, and whenever I can, make sure that the artist or the families of the artists are the ones receiving any sort of settlement on a sample issue.
Yeah, right. and that's the other thing I've heard, that the rights can just be passed on to like family members, or even just it doesn't have to be a recording, big industry. It could just be a family member that says it's okay after they're gone or whatever. And
that's the best situation, if the artist has passed. I'd much rather deal with their family than a major label or something. But really cool question. Thank you.
Yeah, it's funny.
Awesome, I appreciate it. Really. I've been wondering about that a long time. So thank you.
All right,
no
thanks
doubt,
a lot,
no
Brett.
doubt.
Good job. Thanks for joining us. Brett, what do you want? Fuck the gatekeepers or dream it, do it, man?
Dreams, man. Dreams all day.
This is, you know what I got to say, Derek, you got a very uplifting crowd, not the usual folks that are attending our show. Okay, so we know another dream it, do it,
Yeah,
Cody. Get that thing. All right, make sure you give your email or your address to one of the guys here. How's Derek's mic? We have a little cutting out there. Are we okay? All right, great. All right, Derek, you know what? I want to ask you another. We'll shift gears here. I know you got at some point. We're running overtime as usual here.
I feel like we're just getting started.
We could go on for days. By the way, I just had my son who texted me here while we were chatting. I wanted to make sure you took a picture with Duke, and he goes, "Dad, I'm fucking pissed I'm not there." You know. I hope you're not watching over there at the Atom Factory, Matt. Okay, just we'll have it on here for you later. I want to talk about you as an entrepreneur, if I could, right?
Yeah.
Most artists don't consider themselves as entrepreneurs the way a business person might. But I think that if you're going to be making a living out of making music, ultimately you have to look at it as a business. This quote unquote business model, I hate that term. It used to be I would ask you, hey, so Derek, how the fuck do you make any money doing this, right? Your old business model seemed to be music for free. There were some paid downloads in the mix. And now you've kind of changed it up a little bit, and you're offering some places for people to put some money. How do you work it all out? This making music, giving it away, and staying in business as a professional in the music business versus a hobby?
Yeah, that's a good question. And the reason that I am able to continue offering my music to people who just want to download it for free at no charge, whatever. The reason I'm able to do that is because my fans are so loyal and supportive. And I think that a big part of that is because of the respect, the mutual respect that comes from this philosophy of music and art and what it is. It's a deep thing. It's not just a business model. It's a philosophy of why I create music and art in the first place. You know what I mean? It's like I've had to make the decision to continue giving away my music as a free download every time I put out a record. It wasn't like I made the decision once and it was just like that forever. I've had to do it with every record, and with this new record it was like the hardest decision I had to make because I had put basically everything I had into making this record. I mean, completely independent, funded the whole thing. I mean, it was a massive undertaking. The visual project, the documentary, like all this crazy stuff. And at the, when the dust settled, I really realized that I couldn't just completely flip 180 degrees and only sell my music. But I wanted to encourage people to support the record and buy it if they could. And so that's why I put a ton of effort into making the double LP vinyl like a super special piece. I mean, it's like a hardback covered book with 30 full color photo montage art pieces in it, and like it's just really sick. And the CD is the same way, and we have a USB drive that contains all kinds of videos and bonus material. So yeah, I wanted to make the physical product really special so that people who might not normally buy a piece of vinyl or a CD would really want to, because these are they're collector's items, you know? And that's what I was trying to make.
That's what it looks like. It looks like something that would, that your hardcore fans would just love. Real quick, let's talk about your Pretty Lights label. I noticed that in addition to putting out your own stuff, you're working with a number of other artists. I was interested to see, how that works. PLM, Pretty Lights Music.
PLM. I have a bunch of friends who are incredibly talented producers and musicians, and when I first started having success, and I'm talking about playing like 300-person rooms and selling them out, I was like, man, this is starting to happen, you know, not like 30,000-person festivals, but like at the beginning, and I was able to pay my rent off that, and my, you know, a handful of my homies were making amazing music, but still having to bust their ass at a day job, and really, PLM was all about getting my friends to be able to quit their damn jobs, you know what I mean? And obviously get their music out there. So Michael Menner, his first record came out, and it was an experiment, and it was a successful experiment. Literally within a week's period, his record had been downloaded 10,000 times. People had never heard of him, and they loved his music, and all of a sudden he had a touring career.
Yeah.
Within 2 weeks, he did quit his job. And the same thing happened with Paul Basic and with Supervision and Break Science. They were already established musicians, but that project popped off. So all the artists on the PLM roster have become very successful through this model. You know what I mean? It's like they come out on PLM, that means I'm sort of like saying, this music is dope. If you like my music, you should listen to it, you know? And it's worked.
Perfect. You know what? That was me hitting something here. Code is ready to do his web walkthrough. All right, do we need another mic?
Nope, we're good.
Oh, we're all good. Okay. Okay. All right. You know what? We're running overtime as usual, Derek. We could go on for freaking days. I can't end this without talking a little bit about your touring. You've put on a huge show for a long time. One of our early questions here that I forgot where it is was how you came up with the name Pretty Lights. It has something to do with the live show. Is that true?
No.
No. Okay. Scratch that question.
No, I do want to answer the question.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
It's much more interesting and deeper than that.
Oh, fire away.
I first saw the words Pretty Lights together on a 1966 New Year's Eve Pink Floyd and the Who flyer. Okay. It was a flyer, and the tagline below Pink Floyd was "Come and see the Pretty Lights." And I saw it, and I was like, who are the Pretty Lights? They open up that show? And it was at a time, you know, where I was beginning to really get into like filming as a hobby and stuff like that. And I chose that as a name of the project. It became the name because the idea is that it embodies the artistic eye. Like people who are creative, the people who are watching this, who are aspiring to be musicians or producers or whatever. It's like we go through the world looking for the little things that inspire us, you know? And that's what the Pretty Lights are, you know? Yeah. Obviously, I couldn't have called the project Pretty Lights when I was releasing music from my small apartment in Fort Collins, Colorado, you know, online. Like, I didn't have a big light show, you know what I mean? So it was really just about, like, the flow of the words and what they meant to me as an artistic sort of little, you know, representation of how I feel about beauty and creation in general.
All right, so now that you've answered that one,
I had to put that out fast.
No, that's good. Talk about, if you would, this the touring side of your business now, because you know the electronic or whatever you want to call it. You know, you're doing big business out there. You're playing the biggest festivals in the world. You're playing, you know, headline dates on your own. For rock bands, that was always the tried and true path. You know, music's one thing. It was about building a live business. Where are you playing this summer? You know, talk about a little bit about your live show, and then talk about where you're playing this summer.
With this summer, we've switched up the show production again. We always try to keep it new and fresh and change it as often as we can. And with this one, we tried to mimic sort of the conceptual approach of my album, and we lost all the animation and video technology and took that off, which is a staple of all EDM shows and festivals. Yeah. And we went back to creating an extremely creative and beautiful live show with regular lighting fixtures. You know, it's a light show. It's an old school light show, but it's done in a new school way, and it's super badass. And so we're working on a new production for the fall tour, which is going to be it's going to be incredible. Like, I'm so amped about what's happening on the fall tour. But this summer, with this all, you know, traditional lighting fixtures and laser show, it's really fresh. We've made these like 3-dimensional laser shape structures that can create like laser cone diamonds, and we hit a disco ball in my sort of a producer booth with lights inside of it, and it can, and as soon as you can't see the ball, you can't see the mirror ball, but when it turns on, the booth just like shines out over the whole crowd, and it rotates over the whole room, and it's like it becomes this, it turns from this little simple booth into this thing that fills the entire space, and it's really sick. Anyway, I got to give props to my LD, Greg Ellis, the Laser Shark, who's an extremely creative
Laser
artist.
Shark, I
That's
love
what we
that.
call him. At the Laser Shark on Twitter, if you want to holler at
the
him.
laser, I might have to hit him up.
But this summer, I'm playing massive festivals all over the place. Europe, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Bonnaroo was amazing. I just played all night a couple nights ago at Bonnaroo. So if you were there and you're somehow able to be streaming and watching this, good for you. You're so
you're
high-tech.
covered. Okay, I think we have a couple more. Joe, you got a question on there? No. Okay.
I got one question. I
Cody's
have
got
to-
one more, and
have
then
to get
I'm
this
being
in, 'cause
waved off. We got to get out of here.
People are going to kill me if I don't ask this
Okay,
question.
fire away.
Just real quickly, do you have anything special in store for the Electric Forest next week? And that was from Brian.
Nothing, looking for inside info here, Derek.
Man, are you kidding? It's Electric Forest. It's like there's festivals, and then there's that festival because it's a magical place. It's like it's got a different vibe, and the weather is cooler and beautiful in that forest, and everyone is at that festival is so communal and enthusiastic, and of course, yes, definitely have things special in store for EFF and everyone going. I do want to say this, you know, after I played all night at Bonnaroo, I'm seeing on Twitter and stuff like, you better do that at Electric Forest too, you know, like, don't leave us hanging on that shit. And it's like, Bonnaroo is different because they let you play all night. They don't have a curfew. They own this massive farm, and it's kind of right outside Manchester, and they, you know, they wanted me to end at 5, and I fought to play till like 5:40 or something
In
like
the morning?
that. Yeah, it was like a 4-hour or something set. Anyway, I am going to plead with the promoters of Electric Forest to be able to play as long as I can, but unfortunately, they in the past haven't been able to allow me to do that, and so it's not my decision. You know, if it was up to me, I would play as long as possible at every festival, and so we're gonna try to get it up there and stretch that out and make it a really crazy special party for everyone there. So
Dope.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, speaking of special crazy parties, this has been a great one here this morning for us here. You know, I want to just thank you so much for coming in. We could go on for days here, Mr. Smith, and I got enough ammo to do that, but we'll wait until we're done here.
Yeah.
Before we leave, let me tell you what we got going on. It's been a great week for us here on the show. On Wednesday, we're going to have my friend Mr. Nick Hexum from 311, who's had a wonderful career, who's done some great things, who owns an island. He's ridiculously handsome and talented, which we should hate him, but we don't. We love him. He'll be with us on Wednesday, and then on Friday, talking about this making music. We've got a great guy on the show. His name is Alex the Kid. He's an Englishman who now lives here in Southern California. He's worked with everybody from Rihanna to Imagine Dragons and everything in between. I'm looking forward to picking his brain to see how he goes about making all that magic. I want to say to all the folks that joined us here today, all you Pretty Lights fans, it's been a pleasure having you. I hope you'll take a look around the site. But more than anything, I want to thank you, my friend, Mr. Derek Vincent Smith, better known as
Renman.
Pretty Lights.
Yeah.
I'm going to give him one of those "Fuck the Gatekeepers" T-shirts here, dreaming
I
it.
will.
So, anyway,
I'll rep it.
that's it for the show today. My name is Steve Rennie. The show is called Renman Live. The website is renmanmusicandbusiness.com. Thanks for joining us, Derek. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
All righty, take care. See you later, folks.